What's the word, chat? Get it, let's get it, man. Shout out to Cash Jordan, by the way.
Iran is now under attack from their neighbors. Listen to this.
Meanwhile, sources tell Fox the UAE has been secretly carrying out attacks on Iran in response to the strikes on their energy infrastructure.
The following program is rated TV MA. Viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, hey, Brian, good morning. The Middle East is bracing for the possibility that the region returns to war in the days ahead. Overnight, the parliament speaker in Iran, Mohammad Khalibaf, posted to X saying, quote, "Our armed forces are ready to deliver a well-deserved response to any aggression. Mistaken strategy and mistaken decisions will always lead to mistaken results. The whole world has already figured this out. We are prepared for all options. They will be surprised." The threatening language comes after President Trump rejected the Iranian response to the U.S. peace proposal, calling it a piece of garbage. As he indicated, the ceasefire is on life support.
Yes, it is.
You did say that.
Unbelievably weak. I would call it the weakest right now.
All right, so for those of y'all that don't know what's going on right now, let me give y'all a breakdown real quick, man. Let's get it. All right, so Iran said they weren't for it. They're not ceasefire, basically, because they're still attacking other people aside the U.S. You feel what I'm saying? They're not attacking the U.S. specifically. The U.S. still were trying to help out these other places get their escorts, get their goods by escorting the ships and stuff like that. However, Iran still was trying to interfere, and at one point, they were still threatening, saying that they would do this and do that. The Navy is able to keep this war at a distance and not have to actually interfere with the Strait of Hormuz. Instead, they're able to keep control of everything, everything going in and everything going out. And no ground troops have been deployed, nothing like that. And Iran has been pushing to have a ground war, whereas the Navy and the Air Force, they're able to attack from above, from at sea, in any direction they please. You know what I'm saying? So the U.S. was finding comfort in this and still was holding Iran by their throats. You know what I mean? And so now we get to this point where Iran's only move is to attack other nations or other territories around them because they can't touch the U.S. Anything they try to throw at the U.S., they're able to defend it. They're able to deflect it. You know what I'm saying? And they haven't really been throwing anything or hitting anything until, well, it seems like now they're really getting close to doing something. It seems like so.
After reading that piece of garbage they sent us, I didn't even finish reading it.
Yeah, they don't want to surrender.
I'm going to waste my time reading it. I would say it's one of the weakest right now. It's on life support.
President Trump also indicated Iran made commitments about the buried uranium and then didn't include those commitments in their response. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson said this on Monday.
Therefore, everything we proposed in our text consisted of reasonable demands, responsible proposals, and generous suggestions.
Right. But the United Arab Emirates, they're secretly part of this war. And why is it that they're attacking Iran? Are they stupid?
Only stupid countries don't shoot back when you're shot at.
Okay, I guess they're not stupid. And listen to where they got their target list.
Iran targeted these Arab countries. They didn't plead for peace. They didn't ask Donald Trump to stop. They asked Donald Trump for targeting information so they could join in the strikes in Iran.
At first, nobody wanted to help the U.S., even though the U.S. was helping everybody else. The U.S. really don't have any business dealing with what's going on with Iran. But because, NATO and the threat that it can impose, if you really look at it from a really smart man, say if you're playing chess, right, looking from a really smart man, wise man perspective, everything that's going on, with allies that they have, it would eventually bite the U.S. in the butt. However, because of NATO and the inflictions that NATO have and the allies that we publicly share, we step in to do things. But when it came to everyone else and their issues that they was having with Iran, nobody wanted to do anything about it. Until they seen that the U.S. really had control and constraint on everything that was going on, now everybody wanted to step in and also blame and push the blame and say that Iran wasn't really much of a threat to them. Iran isn't really a problem. Until then, Iran really started attacking these other nations around them, and now they're trying to say Iran is a threat. Now they're trying to, you feel what I'm saying? So it's like after the U.S. took control of the situation, then they wanted to make it seem like they were part of the help that the U.S. was offering.
That's what a real coalition looks like.
Yeah.
We're all now fighting together to try to finally eliminate the threat that a revolutionary Iran poses to the United States, to our Arab friends, and to Israel.
And I think
that's right. And you know what this proves? Our Gulf allies, they're not worried about this whole Strait of Hormuz thing either, especially with the U.S. ships protecting them. But now the question is, why won't these guys surrender? What's wrong with them?
Not only for Iran's national interests, but also for the good, stability, and security of the entire region and the world.
We're also tracking reporting from Fox's Brett Baer that indicates the UAE took part in the war striking Iran's Lavon Island around the time the ceasefire went into effect last month.
Wow.
Here in Israel, more cargo planes and refuelers are arriving each day in case combat operations resume.
Yeah. So now they're at war with the UAE, with Israel. Look at this. Kuwait just captured a bunch of IRGC operatives trying to infiltrate their territory. Apparently they used boats.
Kuwait says it stopped 4 gunmen from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard from infiltrating an island just north of Kuwait City. We have a map to share with you.
Look at that.
And 2 of the gunmen, the Kuwaitis say, managed to escape. And this all comes just 2 days after Kuwait said it shot down a pair of drones from Iran flying overhead.
But it looks like another country is about to jump in too.
Regarding the freedom of navigation and the disruption that's happening, unfortunately, right now in the Strait of Hormuz and those military operations that
this is Qatar.
Conducted over there are not helping in de-escalating the situation. Iran should not use this strait as a weapon to pressure or to blackmail the Gulf countries. It's an international water corridor that should be always protected and should be always safeguarded.
Right? There needs to be a worldwide coalition to shut down this nonsense. These guys understand it. America understands it. Europe, they're clueless. They don't know what they're up to. But that's not the only reason this is terrible news for Iran. It means their days as a regime are numbered.
Gulf states have now understood that they're going to have to make a choice. Is it more likely that they will be attacked by Iran or by Israel? And I think they can look around and say, you know, Israel helped us. Iran attacked us. What's the lesson here? The lesson is that Israel is not your natural enemy. Israel is not out to destroy you. Israel is not trying to take over your land.
Exactly.
It's not sending missiles into your civilian territories. Who's doing that? Iran is. Pick a side. Which side are you going to pick? The U.S. and Israel represents one side. The Iranian and their radical fanaticism represents another side. Which side do you want to be on? I think that the UAE is an example. Israel just sent them Iron Dome batteries and personnel to help.
They're protecting each other. Yeah, this is also bad news for the enemies of America who also hate Israel and want to see them collapse. Doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. Now they're making alliances with their neighbors against their enemies. This is rewriting the geographical threat map in the Middle East as we speak, and Iran is about to no longer be part of that. But is this going to happen with a return to combat operations? Is this going to be peaceful?
The core of it is the nuclear weapons issue. Those other factors are always a factor. Understanding that Iran has effectively tried to use the North Korea strategy with such overwhelming capabilities conventionally that no one would dare prevent them from pursuing a nuclear weapon. And it took President Trump to have the courage to make that historic decision. And hopefully we can get that across the finish line with negotiations, which are ongoing right now.
So the hope is negotiations, but some people think that might not be possible.
It's on life support.
And duplicitous. They changed what exactly they agreed to by the time they put it in writing.
They're just
President
playing
Trump slamming
games.
Iran's latest peace proposal as he weighs military action, signaling he is open to restarting Project Freedom Plus while the regime vows to keep fighting. This, as the Wall Street Journal editorial board argues, Iran thinks Trump is bluffing. So how much pressure will it take to secure a deal? Let's bring in Nathan Sales, former Trump administration ambassador at large and coordinator for counterterrorism. So, Nathan, the president's not, I wouldn't think, would bomb while in China. But
I think
clearly
he might.
they are opening up their solar plexus to be hit again.
Yeah, it's time to turn up the heat on Iran. These guys have been cheating on the ceasefire from day one, and their latest response shows they're just not taking this process seriously. So
if all of this waiting wasn't just to see if the Iranians wanted to make a deal. Remember, this Project Freedom, escorting the ships out of the strait, getting them through safely, that showed Iran, while it was operational, that they had zero leverage and that there was nothing they could do and that they had no ability to negotiate. Now, Trump stopped that plan to give them one last chance to come back to the table and make a reasonable deal. And even if the president knew that these guys were going to see that as a sign of weakness, as a sign of retreat, that they were going to believe the mainstream American news that says Trump's imploding, it's all over. Perhaps the reason that he did this wasn't for Iran, but was to make it look to the rest of the world that, hey, I did everything possible before we had to go in and really turn things up.
the economic pressure on the Iranians, we're squeezing their economy and they're going to run out of gas at a certain point. But at the same time, we need to be reopening that lifeline that the world needs and that we need for commerce, legitimate commerce, to be going in and out of the strait.
The longer they drag their feet, the more American taxpayers will pay for it. So there's...
What does he sound like? Who's coaching this guy? Is it the mainstream media talking about how Americans are being fooled by Trump? How Trump's lying about gas prices? And oh, look at this inflation. It just keeps going up and up. Could it be that the same people who put out this kind of stuff are telling the regime that everything's going to be fine if they just never surrender?
You know, I couldn't tell if that was the Iranian speaker or if that was the New York Times editorial. The thing is...
Well, Senator Mark Kelly or Senator Jack Reed should know better.
They're getting help, man.
The thing is, we have enormous leverage and we have the ability to squeeze their economy and bring them to the table. And this response just shows they're not taking this seriously. The rights of the Iranian people to enrich uranium and preserve a pathway to a bomb, nobody has a right to a nuclear bomb.
The only reason why our bases were hit, and the Washington Post says 220 separate hits on our bases, is because the Russians were giving them all the satellite coordinates. Should we be pressuring the Russians to knock it off, or should we just accept the fact that if we help Ukraine, they're going to help Iran?
Yeah, the Russians are not our friend. We should be very clear-eyed about this. Vladimir Putin sees the United States as his top geopolitical rival. He wants to take us down. He wants us to no longer be the leader of the free world.
And you know what? That's the same viewpoint the people writing these articles about Trump, who are possibly helping Iran, want as well. You've got the...
Oh, man, chat. Shit really got hot now. Now they said that Russia is involved. Am I surprised? Kinda. Not really, but more so disappointed. Because I feel like as leaders, and it may sound cliche when I say this, but as leaders, we should know right from wrong. In agreement, you feel what I'm saying? Leading a society of people, we should know right from wrong. We should also understand human rights, human race. You get what I'm saying? And this is one of those things where it's like, think about the losses that not a country, not a region, but as a human race of people. Think about that loss that would be on the that would be presented onto the table. I'm talking about people dying because of power. People dying because of ego, because of pride. You get what I'm saying? No, overall, as a leader, I feel like no one should have to die, right? However, that's not how this world works, you know. Persecution exists. It's tough.
Russians, you've got China, you've got this hostile press in this country, and then you got these regimes. They all want to see Iran win. They all want to see Trump collapse. It's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and they have this axis of hatred. And the problem is, if this Iran operation is successful, if the strait reopens, if there's peace, they all lose because America wins. Isn't that terrible?
Means that he can help the Iranians or help the North Koreans or help other bad actors. We have to, right? We have to pressure him from a position of strength.
We got the hints
and
of
with clear
virus.
eyes, recognizing that Russia is not some secret American friend just waiting to do business deals. They're an enemy.
If you look at the infrastructure of Iran right now, do you think that another week of bombing could break them, or do you think it would just be them enduring more strife?
Well, I think what the president has said is we've got about 75% of our targets taken out over the 6 weeks or so that the war was underway. Probably 25% left. How long does that take? Maybe 1 week, maybe two.
So here's the other angle that some people are discussing. It is entirely possible for the United States that rescued downed airmen inside Iran just a few weeks ago to pull a similar operation and get rid of this uranium. We could knock out the rest of these military targets. We could go get the uranium ourselves and leave. There's nothing the Iranians could do about it, and we could do it while reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Perhaps that's the next plan. It seems like that's the kind of plan that the president could go down, accomplish all of his objectives, and decimate this regime militarily so that they cannot recover and be a threat to their neighbors, to Israel, to us, to Europe, to worldwide shipping.
On the main premise here, no nukes.
Right.
This is not hard to understand.
Right.
So when he says their deal is laughable or the ceasefire is on life support, it's because they are violating the sacrosanct piece of why we're there to begin with. No nuclear capability.
Right.
If you listen to the good polling questions, Larry, Americans believe that if Iran were to get a nuclear device, we'd all be imperiled, all freedom-loving people. But in terms of regime change, the president has said from the beginning he hopes the Iranian people will go and do that, will go and secure the freedoms they want. Because look at what happened then. So many leaders looked the other way. Trump's just not a guy who's going to look the other way.
How can a political party possibly oppose this?
Because they hate the person who's in charge. The Democrat Party in this country loved Obama's deal with Iran because it preserved the regime and strengthened them. That's part of the reason why they're still around after Epic Fury and Project Freedom. It's part of the reason they're talking about how they won't surrender is because of all the money they got from America. They got so much money from America during the last nuclear deal that they had that they didn't even know what to do with it.
Right. If you can't tell your friends from your enemies, you got real problems.
And Larry, it is the course of last resort, not first resort. We've tried to coddle. We've tried to send pallets of cash. We've tried to have diplomacy. We threatened them before, we, the U.S. of A. The presidents that Cory Booker apparently votes for gave billions of dollars in cash and empowered these terrorist groups. So it makes no sense to me. Look, the president still has...
Breaks my heart to see them act this way.
Certainly.
Honestly.
Look, you can talk about, you could say it about the border, you could say it about crime, you could say it about Iran, you could say it about a million other things that where they're just not standing up, speaking up, and showing up. They're already looking at 2028, when in 2026 we have so many problems here and abroad that the president is helping to fix.
You know what the problem is? These guys, this political party in America that hates the president, they've done everything they can to try and stop him from being president. And what happened? He won again in 2024, right? The opposition campaign against him was massive. The hostile press was massive. None of that worked. So they're hoping that an existential crisis comes along and gets rid of Trump for them. Perhaps it's this war, perhaps it's inflation, perhaps it's a global crisis of some kind that they could say that he started. That's what they're hoping.
Right.
All they care about is regaining power in America so they can do what? So they can fly more cash to regimes all over the world. And if they win, that's exactly what they're going to do.
Look, I think it's very important that we woke up this morning and the president has said the ceasefire is on life support because he's got all the tools, the bombs, the blockade versus their bluster. And I actually think that what we're doing in Iran is also about China. China's suffering grievously because of this Iran war.
Okay, you took the words right out of my mouth. We got a little bit more than a minute left. I'm sorry. It's my fault for blowing up. But
it's never your fault.
Okay, so he's meeting with Xi beginning, I believe, Thursday morning out there in Beijing. Now, are they talking about Iran? Is he going to try to...
Of course they are.
Enlist Xi. There are already hints. I mean, Xi needs the oil, too, which is being blocked. Will he try to enlist Xi for peace, or is that just kind of futile?
Well, this is President Trump, so everything's on the table. I think that Taiwan will obviously be front and center. And
trade.
This country has supplied Taiwan with some serious weaponry, even in the last year or two under President Trump. He should talk about Jimmy Lai and the other pastor who's there and all these people. But he absolutely is there to make trade deals. We want to make sure that China makes good on these sort of soft promises to buy our aircraft, our soybeans, and other goods, if not services. And we want to win the AI race. We want to win the technology race against.
So when Trump goes to China, whole bunch of stuff on the table, but in the backdrop is going to be this Iran conflict, which is suffocating their economy. China was buying 90% of Iran's oil. Is that all the oil they buy? No, but it's quite a bit. They need it to run their data centers. They need it to turn into gasoline or their country's going to have problems. And it's going to be pretty tough for them to make trade deals with the United States in a favorable manner and get concessions from Trump when they're not doing the thing that we want with Iran, which they also...
Basically, their productivity will be slowed down. So any deals that come out forth is going to slow down operations overall. So renegotiations would possibly could be on the table, you know, whether it be, how do you say, something that could work in their favor that would probably help them in the long run, which is usually what it is. Not to make it seem greedy to the US, but also, you know, the US could also see that as a benefit because they're at war and, you know, their resources are also being, you know, used. You know, in that situation like that, the US could look at it as an opportunity to get the upper hand where, you know, people, you know, when people demand more, you know, the supply is more expensive, where it doesn't have to necessarily be like that, where if people are demanding it, you can supply to their needs. You get what I'm saying? And if they if they look to obtain more, then there we go, a win-win. You know what I'm saying? Without being greedy about it, you know?
Kind of need to do if they want to survive. What do you think about all that? Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.
See how he mentioned survival too, the needs. You know what I'm saying? It's not yeah, like power is important, but you know, when you look to get over on someone so much, it's past power, it's greed. And it doesn't just crumble that person, it doesn't just hurt the opposition or the person across that you're making a bad deal with, and then it hurts the person that's making the deal that it hurts both parties. You get what I'm saying? Because now they can't get as much as they wanted, and you can't give as much as they may have needed or as much as you would prefer. You feel me? And that's what happens. Like this is it gets down to like how the cookie crumbles. As small as little business negotiations that you make. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes people inflate prices and they inflate their lives, or they say a price, shake their head, nod, and say yeah. But in the back of their mind, they have a whole nother way of going about it, you know. And this is repeatedly a thing that people do. They're very dishonest. You know what I'm saying? Imagine a vehicle comes out of a factory MSRP at $20,000, and these dealerships are selling them for $50,000-$60,000. What the fuck is going on? You feel what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck is going on? That's absurd, bro. And that just reveals that there's a bigger problem at hand. That just reveals that people are looking to get an upper hand. Let me not say they're greedy, but people are looking to get a beneficial, capitalize off of a benefit when there's that much of a margin. You get what I'm saying? People don't feel like they should be taking a loss, and they rather capitalize on somebody else's loss and receive that gain. That's so selfish, bro. That's so selfish. Sometimes you gotta understand, you gotta take a loss to win. You feel me? I'm just gonna leave it at that, gang. You feel me? It's a lot of dynamics in this politics and the conversations that I have. If you can apply, then I hope this is edifying to you. But if it doesn't correlate, or you just don't understand, you know, dig deep, soul search, you feel me? Really find yourself and understand what side of the table that you play on, you know. Where does this vision lie? What do you want to see in the society? You know what I'm saying? Ask yourself that. What are some of the things that make you uncomfortable with as a society, that we share in the society? What are some of the things that you agree with and don't agree with? You know, and have those considerations when you're having the conversation or the topic of politics. That's all I'm gonna say. I gotta cut a lot of this down. 30 minutes, it's a lot, but for you guys, it's well worth it. You feel me? Stay educated, stay locked in, guys. You feel me? Let's push on and push through, man. Bless, man. I hope you have a great night. Take care.